All right, everyone. Welcome to the HW Hockey pregame pre-show chit chat. Well, we're going to continue the recent ritual of allowing you guys to kind of pile in while we get started here. We got 3 minutes to showtime. Yeah, Jack, so you kind of got in there. Same story as last year. And you have Mazzetti again.
Oh, my God. I'm sure everybody's cheering for me.
He's flying high, too. I was talking to him yesterday.
His team's killing it. I beat him both times in the season, though, but I'm so banged up. It's fantasy playoff time. I got no tight end. I'm going to have to start like Briarmouth. I got Burrow back, which helps. But, I have no depth. Everybody got hurt. Just hoping everybody's healthy. And it's the same exact story as last year. Winning in situation against Planko. I won. Played Mazzetti in the first round of the playoffs. It looks like Jake's going to walk into the second round. I played him in the second round.
You did that to Planko 2 years in a row?
Yeah, last game of the season. Yeah. And my division, we are the 4 highest scoring teams. That I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I did see that.
This is 4 divisions in this league, 16-man league, all 4 of us in a row. Like, just top 4. Like, and what was I, 7-5 or something? Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yes. We're talking some fantasy playoffs. Not that you guys care about our fantasy football league, but we're still waiting for people to pile in here before we start the show. A lot to get to tonight. I didn't make a topic list rundown, but obviously we're going to talk about the game last night. Matvei Michkov was back in. I don't even know if I would call it legit trade rumors, but the Spit and Chicklets crew mentioned his name, and we know that they have ties to Rick Tocchet, so there's something interesting there. We'll definitely touch on that. Where the Flyers are in the standings is really interesting. They're 4 points out of first place, Jack, and they're closer points wise to last place in the NHL than they are to the first place in the NHL. So I'm just trying to gauge, like, are people excited? You and I talked at the end of our show last week, or somewhere during the week, like, are you excited? And it was like, I said something like, I'm at peace with never seeing the Flyers win the Cup. Like, I just don't think it's going to happen, kind of thing. Like, I've made peace with not seeing it, because there was a time where I was like every goal I was like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? And now it's just like, all right, see where this movie goes, So I kind of just, I want to gauge where you're at. I want to gauge where the chat's at, and see, are we excited yet? Flyers, I think, sit points wise in the conference 7th. I know there's the wild card. They're tied for 4th in the division. It's a crowded Eastern Conference. We'll get the standings up. All right. 8:05 here, Jack. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, boys and girls, here we go. I just got to find. Whenever we do the split screen, everything kind of gets jacked up. All right, here we go for real.
This is real.
What's up, you beauties? Welcome to another episode of High and Wide Hockey. I'm your host, Jim Microphone, joined as always by Jack Smith. If you're listening on YouTube, thank you. Make sure to give us a like and subscribe. Our like goal for the episode is 50 likes. And if you're watching us on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, wherever, head over to YouTube, give us a subscribe and a like. We'd really appreciate it. You can find this on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Really, you can find this wherever you get your podcasts. But we appreciate if you listen on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Help our numbers. It's not just something we like. If you want to do us a solid early Christmas present, that's what it is. Lots of topics to get to tonight, Jack. As I mentioned in the pre-show, we're going to talk about last night's game. Get to some rumors. This Quinn Hughes stuff's kind of not going away. It's kind of picked up steam. And so we'll touch on that. Owen Tippett, his name came up again. A lot to get to, Jack. So let me ask you, where do you want to start tonight?
Let's get the games out of the way so we spend the majority of the show on the rumors.
Okay.
I love rumors.
Wait, do you want me to play? Wait, I don't know if YouTube will kick me off for that.
See, we got to do imitations now.
Yeah, it's all right. Like, I got a lot of imitations coming up. If you guys haven't noticed. I don't usually wear a robe and a cigar and a hat here. The shitter's full. If you watch Christmas Vacation, that's what this is from, Uncle Eddie. So, in the Christmas spirit, in the Christmas mood a little bit tonight, if you will. All right, Jack, go ahead. Which game do you want to start with?
Well, I was at the Colorado game, and I mean, basically the only two games played were the Colorado and San Jose game. And I gotta be honest with you, the Colorado game went a lot better than I thought it was going to, because outside of the opening goal that Coots scored on his 33rd birthday, which was nice, should have put money on that. They didn't play all that well until pretty much Konechny tied it. Brought them within one because they were down 3-1. And I don't. Another thing I don't understand is Zegras so good at the shootout. I think he's 0 for 3 on penalty shots. Had a penalty shot, did not score. It's like, oh man, that stadium was about to go bonkers if he scored too. They don't come away with any points. I really thought they should have. I honestly don't think that Urson played all that bad. But my issue with that game going into it was you have Colorado on the second half of a back-to-back. Yes, we know how good they are. You're without York. You're without Forster, obviously, and you start Urson. And there's a part of me that's like, and Urson played well. Played great, played well. So part of me is like, man, if they play Vladar, does that game get to overtime? They steal a point? Do they get to a shootout where all of a sudden maybe we might even have a slight advantage? So look, I feel like just saying all that, I'm nitpicking. But look, if we're one of those teams that's barely going to get in, if we're in the mix, these points matter. So ultimately, it was a good game. They had a much better effort than I thought they would have overall, even though it was a pretty big lull in the game. They looked good against a really good team who was on the second half of back-to-back, but their players still played. And they almost got a point out of it, I'll say.
Yeah, that they did. And look, I know that Colorado played. A few people mentioned on Twitter, and leave it to Flyers fans to always point out the negatives. But as that game got on, the Flyers looked better and better. And I know the Avalanche 3 games in 4 nights. Thank you, everybody, for reminding me. But it's still the Avalanche, an extremely talented team. Only 2 regulation losses, and it did kind of look, in a way. Are we still at the point where it's like moral victories kind of thing? Or should they have won that game? Should they have gotten a point?
I think they should have tried to have won. And a lot of that for me would have been starting Vladar. So I did see something that Vladar is like approaching like a lot of games played. And maybe they're trying to limit him for the rest of the year. Not limit him, but like kind of even things out. And Urson just had a good game. Maybe they did look at it as like, we're probably not going to win this game. Why burn Vladar, which you had said. And, maybe that had something to do with it, but there's a little bit of a loser's mentality to that. Hey, they almost pulled it off. If they don't have they don't stop playing essentially from when they scored their first goal until they scored their second goal, maybe it's a different game. And even still, they were a penalty shot away from getting a point and getting into overtime, really. So, I'm not for the moral victories at this point. We can't be. They've said they were trying to win. And you asked me, what am I excited for with this team? Am I excited? And it's like situations like this and decisions like this that I'm excited, I guess, but there's a very much a cautious optimism to me right now. You now without Forrester, it's only been a few games. We'll see how that goes. We'll see what the people coming up, how they do, how Grabenka does in his new role. I think his first game without Forrester, he had an assist. I forget how he's done since then. Fourth line got their first goal. It took Ryan Ellis, Carl Grundstrom to get it for him. That was fun to see against his old team. I jumped the gun a little bit that game. But my point is, here we go. Here's Charlie. Help me out here. Yeah, Vladar has never played 30-plus games in a season, and he's at 17, I believe, now after the San Jose game. So, them starting Urson against Colorado might have had something to do with that a little bit. So throw that out there for what you will. But, yeah, so I'm excited, cautious optimism for many reasons. And I really can't complain, ultimately. It's been 2 games since we last did this, and they beat Buffalo that night. And, I really can't complain. I'm happy. I hope they stay healthy. And I'm keeping an eye on Michkov and him coming out of that slump even more.
Okay. Let's do the San Jose game. So they had a cool stat on the during the game last night that the Flyers have only lost back-to-back games in regulation one time this year. And they bounced back from the Colorado loss with a nice win against San Jose, a young San Jose squad that's a little better than I think most people expected this year, getting good goaltending, fun offensive team to watch. Celebrini, obviously. But the Flyers, I'll be honest, I didn't expect them to look that good, as good as they did against San Jose. Because I've watched a few San Jose games this year, and they've played well. So maybe they've cooled off a little bit, but the Flyers pretty much, they went down 1-0, but they were out shooting San Jose 10-0 at one point. And so for me, it was one of their more complete games of the year, I think, which was nice to see after coming off a tough loss to Colorado. And so not losing 2 games in a row in regulation is going to be extremely important for this team, especially the way the Eastern Conference is this year. If the Flyers, and it could happen this month, we're going to look at the calendar, the schedule in a little bit here, but if they lose even 3-4 games in a row, they could slide big time with this conference this year. I don't know if the conference or the division is necessarily good, and I don't want to call it mediocre either. A lot of the teams you expected at the top are there, but they're not, how do I say this? They're not exactly separating themselves yet. And then there's a lot of teams like the Flyers who are playing better than expected. Now, at what point does everything sort of balance out? At what point do the teams that are supposed to be good sort of rise, and teams like maybe the Flyers, who are expected to be towards the bottom, at what point do they start sinking here? Or can they maintain this? And, I feel like we've had this conversation about this team in the past under a different coach, right? Where we're both, you call it cautious optimism. I don't really know how to be. Am I excited? I'm not excited. I'm kind of just watching the way that I've been watching this team for the last 5, 6, 7 years. Like, what if they make the playoffs? Will I be surprised? Yes, and then I'll get excited. But I think we've seen things go the way they've gone for so long that it's just kind of like, well, when are they going to sink? When does that point come for me? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can point to some of those facts you're really referring to about even better that the beginning of that year than they do this year. I just know that banking some wins early in the season really helps, because when it comes down to it later in the year, you have some points you didn't expect to have. It works out in the end. And really where you are in November, they say, is where you're going to be in the thick of it. And they're right there. The points are a little still too close. Like you said, if they go on a slide, it can be, catastrophic. But like at the same time, like they're playing everybody pretty well. They're getting a lot of games to overtime. So either they're winning it there or getting a point. These are going to add up. I hope they continue to do that. They got to stay healthy. Losing Forrest is going to sting real bad, but they might get Risto back soon. He's like pretty much going through his training camp right now. Like he's almost ready. If Vladar, as you saw, hasn't played more than 30 games, he's at 17. If he can keep it going, doing what he's doing, if Urson, whose last 2 seasons, thank you again, Charlie, 48 and 50, if he's playing less, is he playing more quality games then? Is he starting to come into that a little bit? That'll help things. That's why I'm cautiously optimistic. Because it is because of what you said. I want to be optimistic because they're actually trying to win this year. It's not like 2 years ago where they were in a playoff spot and they're trading away players. We're talking about Dvorak, and no, the only way they're trading Dvorak is if they're completely out of it. If they're even close to in it, he's sticking around. Like they're going to go for it. So I'm optimistic. I'm happy. I'm excited rather because of that, and I'm optimistic because of how they've been playing. The cautiousness is from what you just said. We've seen the floor or the rug be pulled out from under them how many times? Like when it mattered most. So ultimately we'll see. I have to give them the benefit of the doubt a little bit, but and on top of all that, you got all these rumors and whatnot. So I'm going to see what they do. I just want, ultimately at the end of the day, and another thing when you said, I'm just watching, And I thought you might go a different direction with that. And this is kind of what I almost said for my answer, but I wanted to be a little more optimistic because I really am. But I'm just watching. It's like we understand where this team is and how long we've covered them and followed them and whatnot. That like 2 years ago, that messed with fans' heads, how close they came to a playoff spot. That the following year, they couldn't believe that they were as bad as they were. It's like you just weren't paying attention. That's not where the team is. They're not there yet. This is a process. It's going to be baby steps. So if they fall off a little bit this year or aren't really in it or a bubble team, but really on the outside looking in, I'm not going to be upset. I'll be disappointed, but I'm not going to be angry and calling for people's heads and fires and trades and all this stuff. I understand that the assignment and the way that this team is trending. So for me, that's why I'm cautiously optimistic. I understand the position they're in and what they're trying to do, but also that how young they are, new head coach, all that stuff. At any point, we can revert back to where we were because we didn't just say we're contenders now. We're adding, we're making trade for trades here. We're trying to make it work and get better. We're not good and then trying to get over the top. Those are two different things. So if we revert back a little bit, it is what it is. I'll be happy that they started off the season and hung in as long as they could. I'll be happy with that. And then you build on that for next year. So, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm cautiously optimistic. It wouldn't surprise me if things went the other direction. But I also understand that that is what could absolutely happen based on where they are in their rebuild.
All right. And so here's what I think I would be more worried than anything. Because we saw the injury to Forster. Look, the Flyers are starting to score more goals, but they're still, I think, bottom 10. I think more specific, bottom 7 or 6 in the NHL in goals for. They're bottom like 4 or 5 in goals against. Like they're second. They've given up the second least goals in the Eastern Conference. And here's where I'm a little bit like, I'm worried. And not that I want to call it regression, but like, I think everyone can admit that we didn't expect to see this from Dan Vladar this year, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so really, he's keeping the Flyers in the season. And if Vladar regresses, and we're talking about games played, so all of a sudden, like the PTSD from that Sam Ersson season when he was looking really good, and all of a sudden he started playing too many games, and it's like that's a real thing. Vladar hasn't started more than 29 games in his career in a season. He's already at 17. Does he have that wall? Does he hit that wall? And if he does, what then? Should they be looking for another NHL caliber goaltender? Or are they going to call up Kolosov when, because it might not happen, I'm going to say that it's very likely that shit does hit the fan with Vladar. Like they're going to need to start spacing these starts out. And maybe that has to do with why they started Ersson, where maybe we're going to see some of these games where, Ersson gets to start where you'd expect to see Vladar, because they got to balance this out a little bit. They got to think about Vladar for the rest of the year. Or are they going to burn him out? Another month and a half of games, and he's reached his high in games started. To me, that's a little scary for me.
No, it's that's my cautious optimism right there. And it kind of like where I was a little baffled about the Ersson start on Sunday against Colorado, but it's like, man, you know what? If I had to, I don't think it's he was playing well. We want to let him go. I think it had more to do with that, to be honest. That's that cautious optimism there. And, it could happen. There's only one way to find out. However, I don't see them using assets to bring anybody in. More so because unless there's like a major injury, how are you going to juggle all those goalies? That just was so terrible last year. I think they're hoping last year you had Ersson was your one, and Goofball A and Goofball B were your backups last year. Where this year Ersson's the backup and Vladar is like turned into a legitimate starter. Like, so I think they can spell him enough. I think Ersson's game's coming around a little bit more now. I want to see more from him, obviously, but I think we're getting there. Yeah, and he's good. Like again, he's going to have to stay healthy. You're going to get some guys back. It's only one way to find out, and if it happens, it happens. And it goes back to this question, Dan asked an interesting question here. Is making the playoffs or missing out and drafting 15th better for their future? Are they realistically ready to go into the next year of this quote-unquote rebuild? And it's not our admission. It's Danny. It's what he had said going into the season. They're turning a corner. And they've even alluded to draft picks not being used. Look, they'll draft if they have to, or if they're in that situation. But these draft picks are most likely going to be used to acquire talent. And when you look at the free agency, the lack thereof, what we thought it was going to be, and that was their big plan, they're going to have to use these draft picks and assets to acquire players. And not only using assets to get players like your picks, wherever they are, you're going to want to look like you have a team that's at least on the up and up to make it enticing for a player to want to sign with you. If they have any chance at prying away Quinn Hughes from New Jersey and signing here, they're going to have to look like they have an up and up team. That's their only chance. Because look, they're not the Devils. They don't have the Hughes brothers. So what do you have? You're an American East Coast team. That's a lot better than this Canadian West Coast team where he never sees his family. I'm just saying he's there.
You really saved it there with the not seeing the family. Because I was like, oh shit.
No, well, look, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, look, if he wants to play with his brothers, he probably never sees them being in Western Canada compared to the East Coast. There's also an advantage to playing on the East Coast for the travel reasons. It's a lot rougher out west. They have the flights are a lot longer. I think it was Pronger that said a while back, Philadelphia is the best place to play for travel. And that's a big thing for players when you think about it. It's in the middle of everything. It's 2 hours from, I don't know what the hell's up there, Boston, 2 hours from Florida, and everything in between is less. That's a big deal. It is. You play a lot of those metro games, those even the Atlantic Division and whatnot. Like you just mentioned Boston and what have you. And it's just like if they can't make it work with Jersey, because I'm at the point now where it's got to be Jersey or bust. I don't see how a deal doesn't get done, to be honest with you. But let's just say it doesn't happen. Who's the most likely next team in line? And it's like us in Detroit, basically. And we got Tocchet. We got everything you just said about the East Coast and the travel. We're closer to his brothers. So it's like, what else do you need to beat out Detroit or potentially beat out New Jersey, if that's even an option? You need an up-and-up team. He's sleepwalking out there with this horrible situation in Vancouver. You're going to want an up-and-up team. So, like, what's easier to sell to a player? Yeah, we've been adding all this talent, and we've just taken a big step forward. Whether they make the playoffs or not, if they're in the mix, that's a step forward for them. Or, we got a high draft pick. I think the player is going to lean towards the team actually being competitive and being better. And regardless of where they finish this year, they've been competitive. Almost every game they've been competitive, so give them that. That Zegras trade looks phenomenal. Vladar is their goalie going forward. They got so many other little pieces. Michkov, Martone's coming, a plethora of other guys. Lord knows what else they're going to add. You tell Quinn Hughes that we're going to add you and we're done. Please. They'll just start things. So how can you entice these players that you trade for to stay? And Quinn Hughes might not be the perfect example because he's got his eyes set on one location. But whoever you bring in here, maybe Buffalo's goes on a fire sale and is talking to H. Thompson and Rasmus Dahlin. And you're like, well, look, it's not working for you out there. You're not moving that far. You're in a better travel situation, better team we have. You're going to put us over, really. Think about what we just did. Now we're going to add you. This is all the stuff that you have to take into account. And I think that's why they want to show that they're taking the step forward without these stud players. So when they do add these guys, they're right there. They're in the mix and they're ready to go.
So we're talking about something interesting, and we're talking about are you excited for the Flyers? And if you're not, what would get you there? Would it be playoffs, a bottom 5 pick, bottom 10 pick, whatever it is? What you're talking about right now, Jack, that would get me juiced up. That would get me going. That would get me rock hard.
What would get me rock hard if I woke up to a text, and this is all it has to say. It just says New Jersey Devils are out on Quinn Hughes, because then it's open season. All right. And I truly
that wouldn't get me excited. Though.
No, let me finish.
I need to see the trade. I want the trade.
Well, there's a caveat to that.
Everything else would just be
There's a caveat to that. Because if they trade for him this season, they are really rolling the dice.
Yeah, I don't care.
I do. I like these assets.
Put your balls on the table, get the guy you want, and get it done.
You got to be smart about it, though. Let's go into some of the rumors now. We're naturally going there anyway. Should we just do it?
Yeah, I mean, we've been there.
So,
but I mean, for everybody, Hughes, the longer you let it go on, the more chance everyone else has. Go get him now.
I understand that.
Don't play around with him.
Well, where they were talking about spitting chicklets was, and I think this is ludicrous, and I'll get your thoughts on this too. Basically, and he didn't say it was anybody. They were kind of making a generalization. It's like, oh, well, you know, everything going on at Mishkov. They're friends with Tocchet. They got insider information, whatever. It's like, oh, would you Mishkov or Hughes? I, for one, think that's absolutely ludicrous. And if they did that, I'd be furious. And we have heard from, I think, Spitting Chicklets or Elliot Freeman, I'm not sure. They said that they think that the Flyers could trade for him now. And if they pulled that off, they'd have a year and a half with him. They think they could flip him and make him sign long-term here. That is really rolling the dice. Are you willing to give up significant assets to roll the dice like that? I understand.
Well, what's
acquiring Quinn Hughes? Well, okay. Should we just? I don't even want to entertain it. But they brought it up on Spitting Chicklets. I think it's stupid. But let's just do it. Mishkov for Quinn Hughes, 1-for-1. Are you willing to do that on a chance that he stays?
I might.
Oh my God, Jim, hold on. Go ahead. You tell me why. I'm gonna pour a drink.
I would consider it. You know, and so Spitting Chicklets brought up his choppy skating, which, if you watch the Flyers, you've already known that Michkov he's not the fastest skater.
Yeah.
We saw it, I think, last night or the game before. He was almost caught on a breakaway, should have been in clear. Somebody caught up to him. You know, he's not fast. His skating is weird, but I feel like we don't bring it up because it's Michkov. You know, if it was anybody else, like for Bobby Brink, we talk about Bobby Brink skating, or whoever, Jack Nesbitt skating. Obviously, and it's because he's not Matvei Michkov. Michkov's skating kind of sucks, all right? But it's something that he can improve at.
That's my thing. Why are we acting like we can't improve skating? Scouts said they hated. They used the word hated. Bobby Brink skating. Look how good he is now.
But that's what I've been saying. That skating is something that you can work on. You can get better at. You know, if I hear a prospect can't skate, it's like, all right, well, can he shoot and score and do all these other things? Because you could teach him to be a better skater, right?
They're the strength and conditioning coaches they have now. The coaches in general they have now.
Power skating coaches.
Exactly. Like you're telling me they can't figure that out. Skating. You have proof in several players on your team already. You're going to move on from Mishkov now. After everything we've been going with, like, to me, that's just wild. At a chance. How stupid. I think he would have to retire from everything if Briere traded Mishkov for Quinn Hughes and Quinn Hughes walked in a year and a half. I'm done. I'm retiring. I'm the dumbest person of all time. Like, you cannot trade him without a guarantee. And I wouldn't even trade him to begin with. But if you did, if we went down the silly rabbit hole and you do that and he doesn't stay, oh my God, he might get assassinated. Like, I'm serious. Like, somebody might kill Danny Briere. Like, because you just set this franchise back, I don't know how long. Like, that is wild. I understand having balls and you know, sometimes having the player here does, but you can't give up.
Charlie's Hamburgers is crushing Michkov in the chat.
Look, he does take a lot of dumb penalties. He does. That's a thing right now that Michkov. The one against San Jose.
If this was any other player that we were talking about, what would you be saying, Jack? If this was Owen Tippett in the chat, what would you be saying?
All day I trade Owen Tippett. But there was reasons why. Well, look, first off, I'm not a guy who wants to trade for Hughes without a guarantee. If it happens and I like the deal, I can live with it. But it's one of those things I kind of want to let it play out till June, I guess. We'll see. Things are getting pretty bad in Vancouver. I might have to change that. But if it was Owen Tippett, we have 1,000 other wingers to come along. We don't have 1,000 other Michkovs to come along. He's our winger, though. He has the highest potential of any player on the team in the whole system. You could maybe argue Martone, but I still think Michkov has the most potential, the most skill of any player on the team. We don't have any other player like that. We don't. Even if you want to say Martone, he's not the same style of player. He's more of a Kachuk, which I would love. I would need. Well, Kachuk has a Barkov. I would like both. I want both. You know, like. I think this is wild. It defeats everything we've been talking about the last 2 years if they do something like that. And especially if there's no guarantee and Quinn Hughes walks. We will look like the dumbest franchise in the history of the league. Now, if you give up significantly less assets. We are still talking
about a winger, though. At the end of the day.
Kaprizov's a winger. He does a lot for Minnesota. Like, it's not like we're talking just any winger. I'm talking about Michkov. I'm talking about practice.
He's not a point per game guy though.
He's 20. He just turned 21, man. Just turned 21. This is a process. Everybody's out on him already. This is ridiculous. I can't do this. Oh my God. This is ridiculous.
16 points,
they're out on him.
Games.
Out on him. 20.
This
just
is supposed to be the franchise.
Yeah, let's go. Come on, let's see what happens. He's been here for a year and a few months. That's it.
Can't skate.
We're pulling the plug already. We're pulling a plug already. I think it's wild.
Doesn't work out in the summer.
I wouldn't even do it for Quinn Hughes if it was a guarantee he'd sign. Like I still wouldn't do it. Yeah, he's just Jim? How stupid were we at 20? You know, and he already admitted he's like, yeah, I'm definitely staying next summer. I can't do that again. Like he has the drive. He does. He's proven that. He's going to figure it out. He's a young guy. He's getting a rapport with Tocchet. It's coming along. No need to hit the emergency button, especially for it's like hitting the emergency button and getting a life jacket that may or may not have air in it. Like why would we do that?
Jack, you better get on the phone with Rick Tocchet because I believe that he is not the biggest Michkov fan.
I don't necessarily disagree. However, I don't think he's out on him.
I don't think he's out on him.
No.
But if Spit and Chicklets are bringing his name up.
They absolutely hate Philly. So stop. Come on.
Yeah, but you think they're just making stuff up out of thin air?
They didn't report anything. They were just kind of like barroom talking.
But they were talking about his choppy skating though.
All right. We already discussed the skating, how bad they literally drafted Nesbitt, traded 2 first-round picks, moved up from hoping they could fix his skating like they did Forrester's, like they did Brinks, like it just happens all over the league. It can be fixed. And he's got the drive. He's got that drive.
Look, Tocchet's not the GM, so I'm not really worried about them trading Michkov, but
True.
Michkov took a penalty late. I don't remember which game it was.
Was that where he touched the guy's face for no
I think
reason?
it was Celebrini, yeah, where his stick kind of got stuck in the net and ended up putting him in a choke for a second.
Yeah, it was weird.
Did you see Tocchet shaking his head?
Yeah, I did.
And it wasn't like that was a bad call. That was like, this fucking guy again. That's what it looked like to me.
I've seen a lot of coaches do that with star players. It is what it is.
But Tocchet has a history of not liking the Russian guys.
Well, that's the era he grew up in, unfortunately. But look, he dealt with Elias Pettersson and won himself a Jack Adams. So I mean, I don't think is Pettersson even Russian? I don't know where that came from. Forget that.
No, he's not Russian.
I don't think he's Russian.
He didn't like who's the guy that played for the Flyers last year? They traded him to Los Angeles. Kuzmenko.
Yeah, but I heard Kuzmenko was an a-hole. I heard he was.
Tocchet called him fat, and he said he didn't back check.
Well, you got to back check. But Kuzmenko, Michkov, we'll see. Look, you need star players at the end of the day. You need star players. You need them signed long term. So
all right. I hear you.
Who's your star player? Martone or bust?
But if
we're gonna just do it with.
Well, you're trading for a star player, one that Rick Tocchet knows and has played for him before and plays at a premium position.
If he signs, which he's not guaranteed to do by any stretch of the imagination.
I mean,
why would he?
But you're pairing him up with his buddy, and if he doesn't sign, you got an entire year to move him.
At the same time, if what's his name? If Quinn Hughes signs an 8-year deal with us, and things don't go so hot, and Tocchet gets fired, what's he got then? Coaches come and go all the time. Shelf life is what? 3, 4, maybe if you're lucky 5 years. Yeah, he signed for 5 years, but how many make it to the end of their contract? All
right, but you don't want to make moves with your coach not in the part of the future.
Of course, absolutely. But we're only a few months into the season. I'm not doing this already. Let's give it some time. My God, he's 20.
But I think this was one of the worries though with Rick Tocchet.
Well, like you said,
because
at the end of the day,
track record,
this is Briere's team. I remember Briere and Jonesy, who run the team. They were carrying his bag and his sticks at the airport. Tocchet wasn't even on the team yet. So look, and I don't think Tocchet's like immature like Torts, where he's like, get it off my team, or I'm going to talk shit to him to the media and bench him all the time. Like I don't think he's going to do that. I think he'll try to make it work because I think Tocchet realizes you need talented players. I do think he understands that you need talented players to win in the league today. You can't just get by on culture and dumping the freaking puck in with big bodies.
Well, they'd be trading for a talented player. They wouldn't just
if he stays. If Big if. But who's your offense at that point?
Oh, they have a
TK's
lot of guys that can play
He's
offense.
going to get old. He's going to be getting old. Coots is already kind of old. You got
but winger wise, they got a ton of wingers.
Hopefully Martone's game translates to the level that we need it at. I guess you're all in on Tippett then. Forster's a nice piece. Brink's a nice third line guy. Mm-hmm. But who's your star offensively? Who's your star?
I think Porter Martone will be a future star.
Hopefully,
but yeah, I mean,
you need more than that.
Your star would be Quinn Hughes.
Look at the teams have won cups. How many offensive stars they have?
Hey, you're preaching to I want them to be bottom 5.
Look how much you like Sam Bennett for God's
I don't want
sake.
them to be winning.
Well, I'm just saying that's their words. If they're saying we're going to do this to attract free agents, I would at least want part 1 to happen to see if they follow through with part 2. If that makes any sense. If they say we're going to try to make this look like a destination, a team on the up and up, I would like to see them on the up and up. So now it's on them to acquire players and bring them in here and make us ridiculous. Because like you said, trading for a player of that caliber will get you excited. Well, You're going to need part 1 to have a chance of part 2.
Yeah, I think any future players they bring in are going to have to be brought in via trade. And honestly, Jack, how long have I been saying that? But we talked about it in the sense that Philadelphia is not a destination. Yeah. So what I would say was they're going to have to trade for their star players because free agents aren't going to sign in Philadelphia over Vegas, over Florida, over these California teams now. Who doesn't want? Look at the San Jose roster. Look at the Anaheim roster. Who doesn't want to play for those teams? Great weather, taxes suck, but you got great weather. You got a chance at winning the cup. You know what I mean? You're still a millionaire at the end of the day.
They're on a team on the up and up.
So, so my point is they're going to have to trade for guys.
And the free agency dried up in general because everybody can re-sign their own guys with the cap.
Sure. And for me, look, if I'm the GM, I'm telling Tocchet, dude, figure it out because we ain't trading Michkov and we're not trading Martone.
There he is.
You got to go back and forth a little bit just for the hell of it.
Oh, yeah.
These two guys aren't going anywhere. I'll say this though, because I don't know how true it is, but Michkov's not the most popular guy in the dressing room, and it's not because he's a bad dude. It's because he's a foreign guy, and just from my own experience growing up and playing, my own experiences playing sports and whatnot. I grew up playing soccer, a lot of different nationalities and whatnot. If you have 2 guys from Russia on your team, they're going to stick together. They're going to go out together. They're going to eat together. They're going to do things together. If you have, 5 Canadian guys, 6 Canadian guys, all around the similar age, they're going to hang out together, So whatever the majority of the Flyers are, those guys are going to be a thing. You got a couple Swedes, maybe they'll hang out together, and then there'll be the nights where, they all get together. But primarily, the wherever you're from, you tend to gravitate towards those guys. They speak the same language. You eat the same food. Maybe you have the same interests. And right now, Michkov is one of the younger guys on the team. He doesn't speak good English. So he's not the most popular guy in the room. He's not really contributing to locker room culture, which, he's going to learn English. He's got a lot of time to do it. I'm not concerned, but I wonder, we hear Tocchet talk about culture. You know what I mean? Is that something that he looks at? Quinn Hughes, obviously American, speaks perfect English, will blend right in with the locker room. He's right in that prime age.
Real quick on that.
Does he consider these things?
Quinn Hughes is the captain of the Vancouver Canucks, and he's completely quit. That's not good for culture.
I don't have a problem with that. Get his ass here faster.
I agree with you.
He's done there. That's what that tells me.
I'm just saying, he's the captain out there, and he's outside of JT Miller. He's first man out the door.
He doesn't look like a captain to me when I see it. To me, he was kind of you know what I hate? When they give the C to the most skilled player. I agree. Because that doesn't mean you're going to be the best captain. I hate that.
Some of the best Flyers teams that didn't win a cup were in the 80s, and Davey Poulin was their captain. He was a third line guy. You know what? Those are the guys who should get to see. Pronger was a great captain. That's exactly. I mean, that fits both. That fits both for you right there. Richards, I thought was a good captain based on how he played. Jason Smith is another. Yes,
those are the guys I want captains. Because if the captain's busting his ass, no one else is allowed not to bust their ass. You know what I mean?
Right. No, and they're usually the captains facing more adversity, whether it be his own physical, his skill, lack of skill, or whatever, and they're overcoming that. So you have no excuse because you're younger and you have the skill and all that stuff. That was Davey Pullen for you. He was nowhere near as skilled as Tim Kerr and Brian Propp and Mark Howe and those guys. And he was the captain because he's wearing a flap jacket with broken ribs in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So like that's the guy. Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
So it's like I really feel like we're not even having this conversation last year because you know what language is universal? Winning, winning, and or your top guy putting up points. And we're not even having this conversation last year at all. Michkov's the future and then some because we've had a hiccup for whatever reason. If you want to say it's an excuse, if you want to say he's always going to be this way, I'm going to wait it out. I'm not pulling the plug already for Christ's sake. That's where I'm at with that.
I'm not trading Michkov. It was a fun little back and forth, but at the end of the day, the guy wants out. So you automatically it's like, well, I ain't giving up my future franchise players. Martin, Michkov off. They're off.
I tell you right now, and the Spit and Chiclet guys are saying what they're saying, and it's not even reported. They're just talking. Maybe they got some inkling from talking, but I will tell you this. I don't think they view Michkov as much as well as we do, but I know they don't view Michkov in the same light as Jonesy and Briere. Therefore, there's not going to be any kind of trade like that. I would bet my house on it.
Yeah, and
thank you.
Yeah, Brad Miller I guess all I can say is like we'll see. Because right now, I'll be honest. Like I'm down on Michkov this year. I don't want to get into like the negative stuff, but that whole summer thing rubbed me the wrong way. The slow starts rubbing me the wrong way, only because this whole time, all we're hearing is he's got that Mamba mentality. All he wants to do is win, lives, eats, and breathes hockey. And then his first summer, it's this. And it's a slow start, taking bad penalties, yada, yada. Like,
I think he's always going to take some bad penalties. I think that's just how certain top skilled players play, especially the Russian ones.
Yeah, but usually when you're taking bad penalties, it's because you're.
What's the other thing we heard about him at penalties, though? He likes coming out of the box and getting on a breakaway. And I'm not saying that's a good thing,
no,
but that is a highlight reel thing for him anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, like imagine you're his teammate and you hear that and you're like, this fucking guy's taking in. Like I got to go out there and bust my ass.
It needs to get under control. It does for sure. And again, he's a young kid. Like I'm telling you, like. I believe him when he says he wants to win, and they always commend his work in the gym, and him and Zegras were staying after practice and all that stuff. But like at the time he's a 20-year-old. He just got his taste in the NHL. He scored 65 points. I'm not gonna say it came easy for him, but it came kind of easy for him. And he had his big summer, and it's like he couldn't stay here because he wasn't of age. So like he's a kid. He went out. He made a mistake. And he's already said, like, yeah, I think I'll be staying local this time around. And then I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt at the very least. Like, Jesus, he just turned 21. Like, come
on. Yeah. So I like Michkov long term, but I guess right now I could see like both sides. And right now I'm leaning towards more annoyed. And look, that doesn't mean I'm going to trade him. I think if the Flyers were going to trade for Hughes, they could get him. And I know Detroit has centers they could offer up. New Jersey has Nemec they could offer up, Nemec plus, whatever. I don't know if they have good center prospects.
Put Mercer in there.
Yeah, Mercer, I think, is playing more of a wing these days. So I think if the Flyers had to match a package, they could.
Absolutely.
Does that mean Jet Luchanko goes the other way? Maybe. So. Does it mean Jack Nesbitt goes the other way?
All day?
Maybe. So we'll see. But I don't, Martin especially, and then Michkov, no. So, all right. There was another thing that was out there. There's actually two things, and I've been meaning to make a video about the one, and that's Brad Lambert from Winnipeg, Jack. I know we didn't really discuss this, but he wants out of Winnipeg. He's more of a winger these days, but can play center. I'm wondering if this is maybe like a potential Zegras situation where they buy low on this kid, see what he's got, and go from there. Do you have any thoughts on Brad Lambert, or should I just hold off and make a little video out of this?
It's tough. In Vegas is going to love this because he's asked me about this on the side. I think any player who's in a situation like that, they should consider, because I don't know how you're going to get that like guy at center you can grow with your team and fit that rebuild you have and where your team's at. If the price is right, I think you do it, because you can always flip this guy later if you had to. Now your video will have more information. I look forward to it, but a player of that caliber, you should never not consider it. I mean, you saw how little they got Zegras for. I would imagine it cost significantly less for Brad Lambert, and on top of that, it's not like a Robert Thomas type, who's not even a Paige Thompson type. This is like a tier down, but still could develop into a potential 1C. Our 1C right now is Christian Dvorak. I mean, if there's a shot at a guy to make this work, and maybe you send your assets towards getting a defenseman, yes, all day. I don't know what that price is right now. I don't know what the situation is right now. If it's a guy who can play center, who fits into Tockett's system and our plans age-wise, you have to at least inquire, kick the tires, and see what you can get him for. And if he's looking for a way out, so I'm going to make it cheaper.
Yeah, I think it's a guy you try to buy low on, and if low enough to where if it doesn't work out, you can move on, kind of thing.
I mean, you look at Zegras, and we should be in on every single trade of that nature ever, no matter what. That has worked out so well for us that it's like, of course, sure. I would like to taste that again, please. And we have the assets to do that. It's not like we're pulling from like guys we probably shouldn't be trading. We have plenty of assets. Let's do it.
There was a comment somewhere in here, and I haven't seen this name in here from before. Rate Starock. I don't know if I said that right. First time seeing you in here. Hopefully we see you in here more often. But comments, I haven't been this hopeful in years. And while we move on to our next topic, if you're still watching, tell us why. What are you excited about? Is it the record, the coach, Dan Vladar, the goaltending, the resurgence? What are you excited about? Potentially making the playoffs for the first time in however long? Maybe the Flyers' first home playoff game in what seems like forever. Bubble doesn't count. So let us know in the comments, what are you excited about? Or what are are you cautiously optimistic like Jack and I? Are you worried? I would even lean like on the excited meter. I'm in between like worried and cautiously optimistic. Like I don't want to sound negative when I say this, because I don't mean it in a negative way, but I can see things going south faster than I can see things going better. There's just so much season left. So I don't want to spend too much time on what you and I think, Jack. We got 10 minutes left here. We can move on to the next topic, but guys in the chat, let us know if you're excited, worried, cautiously optimistic. All right, Jack, the next kind of rumor that's out there, Owen Tippett's name is still out there. Not because, from what we saw or what we heard, the Flyers aren't putting Owen Tippett's name out there, which, look, if you want to believe that or not, that's fine. What was put out there, and I don't know if it was, I think it was Pagnotta maybe, was that teams are calling in for Owen Tippett to see what's going on there. I think teams know that if he is going to be moved, he does have a sort of a modified no trade clause type thing. He needs to be traded by a certain date. So maybe teams are calling, doing their due diligence, and they see that, okay, this kid's got some raw talent. He's 26 years old now. We have a center that we can put him with, and this can be, I don't know, a 60, 70-point player with the right line mates. What are your thoughts on all this, Jack?
So we just from a organizational depth perspective, we have too many winners. We do. And it's a shame because, I really like the way Tippett's been playing lately. It seems like he's more of, even if he's not giving you goal scoring, he's playing well more often in games. And as we stated when it was signed, that contract's going to look pretty good. And I think the Flyers realize that. I think other teams realize that. That contract for what he's going to potentially give you, if not more, because both the Flyers have admitted they think there's a whole nother level to unlock the Tippett's game, and the skill is there to do that. Guy was a top 10 pick, and he has shown like plays, like ridiculous plays and spurts for 6.25. It's nothing in today's climate for how the cap is skyrocketing up. Like that's nothing. That could be a really good deal. However, it's going to be really good value as well. And when you have Michkov, TK, Forrester, Brink, Bump, Martone, like I even heard a rumor that Brady Tkachuk might look our way if things are going right. I mean, you're going to need to move a winger for whatever you need because we don't have a number one defenseman, a number one center. We could use a tier one, if not a tier two, of each position. So you're going to have to move your wingers. Who has enough value and that gets you a player that makes you better? And the first name that comes to mind because of his contract, because of his potential, and because of what he's already done in the NHL is unfortunately Tippett, whether you love him or hate him. That player checks all those boxes of who you could move in a potential deal to get the player that you need. And Vancouver apparently likes Tippett as well, and we already know what player they're dangling out there. So it's just that's why I think we all kind of know that. And then a player like Tippett is they're all on social media. They're seeing this stuff. They're seeing that shows like ours are saying trade Tippett if you're going to trade anybody. And then you see a rumor from like a Friedman or a Pagnotta. It's like, yeah, they've asked about Tippett. Tippett's name's out there. And that's why the Flyers like, look, you can't stop rumors, but hey, maybe take it as a compliment. Your teams are asking about you for a reason. They're not asking about you because you're playing poorly or because your contract sucks or because they can get you on a one because you're over the hill. It's like the sky's the limit, and this is a good point here by Charlie. That no trade kicks in this, I think it's modified, but still July 1 of this upcoming offseason. So if there was going to be a move made, it's going to have to be soon. So I think the Tippett rumors are going to be around up until the Flyers figure out until they make a big trade, really, whether it involves him or not, because he's just a guy that they have to potentially dangle. And they have so much depth. That is their position of strength. You would deal from a position of strength to acquire something from a position of weakness. It just makes too much sense.
It does. Yeah, I feel like we've talked Tippett every week, and it doesn't look like he's going to hit 40 goals this year. All right, which I think was my prediction there. Slowed down a little bit. 19 points, 28 games. He's got a little bit of work to do if he wants to get back on pace. Started out hot, 5 goals, and I don't know, his first 6 games, something like that. He's only got 9 goals now, 10 assists, 28 games. But I've enjoyed watching him play with Trevor Zegras. And, we'll see. Does the Tyson Forster injury hinder any of that stuff? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I think it's good that teams are calling because it means you have a guy that, if there's a deal to be made, you have a guy to say, okay, we'll trade you Tippett, but we want this guy kind of thing. So I don't know. I like Tippett. I think it's pretty well known by now. And the rumors are even after he signs, I don't see a reason. I'm not that he signs after July 1st. I don't see why they might not stop then. It's just, I think it's 12 teams.
Something like that.
12 teams might not be able to call
of his
on
choice. Yeah. And a lot of times they'll pick teams that they know they could be traded to, even if they don't care if they go to that city or not. It's like, they really don't want to go to Pittsburgh, but the Flyers aren't trading with Pittsburgh. So I'll pick another team where they think they can go. But if we do trade, say we make it to the offseason and we do trade for Quinn Hughes and it's a miracle scenario where we trade for him and he signs immediately because it's July 4th or something. And we trade like Forrester and Bump or something. Then we're not, that tells me we're not really having this conversation about Tippett. It's like, well, now we just traded some of our depth. He's still here. He's part of that depth. We don't need to trade him now. We made that move with others and acquired what we needed. I'm not saying he's completely free, but that would alleviate things. So until they address their needs, and if they're turning the corner this season with their own, this is why I want them to not get a top pick. Although I would be all for it if things really fell off. But where they're playing now, I don't want things to fall off. I want like them to potentially make the playoffs because part one was turning a corner. Part two was adding, to this team and building to continue to build. And this now more draft picks. They've said that themselves. These draft picks we acquired when they acquired the 2027 from Toronto. We don't envision drafting with this. We envision trading for somebody with this. Like they will guarantee that part two that has to happen. And we'll finally get an answer on who's going to get moved and what they're going to get. And it has to happen. Like there's too many things in effect. His Tippett's no trade kicking in is going to only make that tougher. So you would think they would do it sooner. There's going to be a time period in June where he can move him before it kicks in. So if this team comes off a playoff berth or they just missed the playoffs or something, and there's a player they're interested in and they can make a deal, we're going to get our answer. And they can't go back on that. They're the ones telling us we're going to win now. We're not looking forward to drafting. We're going to add. Well, they're going to have to prove it. They're going to look stupid.
So in that same vein there, moving on just a bit, Dvorak, Jack, signed a 1-year deal worth $5 million. If the Flyers are around the playoffs, if they're still in the mix like they are now, do they bring him back?
It's a good
let
question.
Him walk?
I think he walks because I don't know what he's going to ask for in his next contract, especially if he has a good year here. I mean, he's probably going to want to cash in. I mean, he's already making $5 million, which we know is an overpay. It was for the 1 year. Now you're going to commit to him for however long, for $6-7 million.
Well, I wonder if it was like, hey, we're going to overpay you for this 1 year. So if you decide to come back here, let's say sign a 3, 4, 5-year deal, it's going to be for either, a slight raise or less money over a longer period of time kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
See, that's if he returns here. If I'm Dvorak, as great as I've liked it here, he turns 30 in February. He's got one shot really at that big contract for him, for a player of his caliber. So if he really parlays a really good season here into free agency, and Vinny stole it right out. Not many centers available. Everybody who signed this offseason, everybody has been signing this year that we projected would be available in this free agency. He could be one of the top guys, if not the top guy. And he comes off a really good year. He's going to want top dollar, or at least what he can for his situation. And are we prepared to pay like a 7 for 7 for him? I don't think so.
I don't think it will be. Personally, I don't think it would be that.
I don't think so either, but it might be like 5 for 6.
I think if he leaves, it would be for that kind of money.
I think he would leave for that kind of money because his only shot to get that kind of money.
But
he's
so
turning 30.
If
he was turning 26, that'd be one thing. He's turning 30 in February.
Let me see I don't know what his last contract was. I mean, look, if he's gonna walk, then trade him at the deadline.
Well, if you're in it, like you were asking me earlier in the year, are we buyers? We get a rental. He is our rental.
Yeah, I don't.
If we're out of it, by all means, trade him. If things fall off, absolutely trade him. So I think he gets a pretty decent thing, penny for him. But if we're in it, you can't trade him.
Let me see. So he's making 5.4. I thought he was making an even 5 here. I just want to see his last contract.
Would have been with what, Montreal?
Yeah, hang on. I'm going to share this real quick. All right. So
4 and change.
He was making 4.5 for 6 years before we signed for 5.4. So he got a $900,000 raise. And before that, he was making under $1 million a year. So with the cap going up, $900,000 raise. If he got another $900,000 raise, he's making 6.3. Yeah, let's call it an even million, 6.4 for the next 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Are you good with that?
5 years?
You can make it 4 years.
It feels a little bit
I would assume the
still feels like
if
an
the
overpay.
years go down,
We've already
the average annual value will go up.
naturally. And I think somebody's going to pay more. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I'd rather just go a different direction. I think we're settling for middling players, and when we should be big game hunting. That should be our priority. It shouldn't be bringing back Dvorak. Let him hit free agency. If things don't go his way and we circle back around, there's a reasonable deal maybe. But we should be looking at the trade market and putting our money and our assets there. And this should be like a plan B, plan C option.
All right.
So I mean, you don't know if this is who he is. Like he was pretty decent in Arizona, but he wasn't that good in Montreal. So what if he comes back and he knows he's on a career year right now? I'm sorry, a contract year right now. So it's like, is he the same guy? He's going to get older. Like, I know we like him. I like him, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's one of those things you're just going to have to let him walk. I think you're better off just based on what he's going to want, unless we're way off here, which I don't think we would be. I think you're going to just better off going elsewhere.
Would you rather have Christian Dvorak or Noah Cates?
Oh, no. Okay. Based on age and everything involved?
Yeah, sure.
I want Noah Cates.
All right.
Noah Cates, I think Noah Cates is going to continue to get better. I think I think there's offense to his game that not like crazy, but like I think that he's got more offense in his game. He's taken on a leadership role with the team. I think he's embedded into this locker room. If he went in a trade, I would be very upset because I feel like he'd only be a piece. I think he's very underrated with this team, and he's only going to get better. For Dvorak, you know what you have.
Do we though? Because he's playing a lot better than we thought he was.
I don't think he'll get any better than how he's playing now. I think because Cates is playing great now too. I don't think Dvorak's playing better. I'll give you that. But Cates has been good almost every year he's been with the Flyers. I mean, he was the center on our best line last year and I think the year before as well. And I think he's only going to get better.
All right.
It's a good question. Right. I don't think that was easy. But I think it's also cheaper. He signed longer term, and you could put your assets and money elsewhere.
I guess I'm looking like, because look, Dvorak's not a top line guy. I think on a very good team, he's probably your third line guy. But I think on the Flyers right now, he's a pretty solid second line guy. You can pair him up with Zegras. He can take the faceoffs for Zegras. He helps a guy like Zegras out, allows him to play more of his game. Carefree. Obviously, Zegras plays a little bit more defensively, whatever. But you can put him in between guys like Konechny, Tippett, Zegras. I think Konechny even said it. I think he might have slipped. But, playing with a guy like Dvorak, he'll cover mistakes. Not that you want to be making mistakes, but you can play in a way where it's like you can try things. And if it doesn't work, you have a guy like Dvorak that's going to cover your ass. And so listening to him say that, it's almost the equivalent like you have a really good goalie. So you know that if you make a mistake, it's not always going to come back and bite you, which allows you to play more confident kind of thing. And I just think maybe Dvorak is more important to this team at the end of the day, where it's like, I think I would give him 6.4, 6.5. Like the cap's going up. So 6.3, 6.4 next year is not going to sound the same as it does this year or it did last year. They can still go out and get a Quinn Hughes and sign him to 11, 12 million, whatever it is. They'll figure that out. I think I would be okay with it. I think Noah Cates is making like 4 million, something like that.
He just signed last. Yeah, he's got like four.
So I mean, until guys like Luchenko, Nesbitt start making their way onto the roster, I'm looking at Dvorak as kind of a space filler for the next 3, 4. However long they end up signing him.
Ideally, Dvorak makes perfect sense for this year, next year, and maybe one more year. Unfortunately, he's going to want more, and that could lead to issues because of the Hughes contract and just in general. Like Zegras is, I don't know if he's a center, but Luchenko, you're going to want to get him playing time and not on the fourth line. He's going to need to play with talent. Nesbitt, I think, is years away, but I really expect them to trade for somebody. Doesn't have to be the greatest center. I don't expect McDavid to come walking in here, like a Robert Thomas, or you brought up Lambert. I would much rather go that route than continue this, because I think when we start to play really bad or really good teams, rather, you're going to see the difference. And I can't even say he's going to get older. If he can keep this play up every year, that's one thing, but he's getting older. He's going to hit his 30s. I don't know if he's going to be the same guy. I think we're better off just, hey, it was great. Thank you for your service. If we bottomed out, we'd probably get something nice for him. If we could keep him short term, I'd be all for it, but I don't think it's going to be what he wants. And look, you do a lot worse, but I think we're all hoping they do a lot better.
Yeah, I guess I just kind of hate the idea of potentially losing a player who's having this type of season for nothing. Like, in my mind, I don't care what they said. You have to move him. Even if they're like in the mix, dude, like you have to think long term. Like, yeah, it's going to suck for the players, the message that sends, whatever. Man, I would just hate the idea of like just
as long as they say we tried. He wanted to cash in. That's probably what's going to come down to.
Yeah, I mean, but like who's going to pay Dvorak $7 million a year?
All it takes is one, man. Who's going to pay Kevin Hayes $7.1 million a year? That was before the cap went up.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It's always something. It only takes one. It only takes one. They see what they really like there. And hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something in place, but I find that I just feel like the way the assets they have, the prospects they have, who's coming up, and I just feel like they're missing a number one center, maybe the number two.
Yeah, I don't know.
He doesn't fit that bill, and you got to get as close to it as you can.
I don't know what's going to be harder for them to get is the number one D or the number one center. And we've seen centers moved, I think, a little bit more frequently than we have top D. Like, that's why I'm saying, like, this Hughes thing, these guys don't become available. Like top,
I know.
one D. It's pretty rare that teams are like, shit, we got to trade our number one point per game defenseman.
That's why I hate this whole brothers bullshit. Like, it's not like, come on, man.
And like, if you look at New Jersey's roster, it wouldn't even make sense for them to trade for him. Like, what kind of message does that send to the rest of the team? Because I think they're paying Luke Hughes like $8 million a year, and
so
between Quinn and Luke, you're telling me you're going to be paying one of these guys to play the second power play? Like, just it doesn't make any sense. And they're going to have to.
Well, they also got Dougie Hamilton out there too.
Yeah, but, I mean, like, it doesn't really make sense for them to do it, and unless Hamilton goes the other way or something. Who knows?
Probably move on from him in a separate deal.
From a roster construction standpoint, New Jersey doesn't make sense. So, well,
I mean, I'm sure they'll make it make sense. Nemec will probably go in the deal, and then Hamilton will go at some point. And I mean, it's a pretty solid core at that point. I get what you're saying on the power play thing, but if you have an opportunity to have the number 2 or 3 top defensemen in the league, you just get them.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
It's like those situations where like you have a need at here, but a superstar is available there, and you just do it because these guys just don't become available. Like, you just got to do it. This does not happen.
Yes, I agree. All right. We're coming to the end here, and we haven't mentioned Ty Murchison yet.
Oh,
the NCHC Defensive Defenseman of the Year last year at Arizona State, having himself a nice little season with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms this year, earning himself a call-up in light of, I think, Cam York's absence. Murchison with the Phantoms this year in 21 games, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points, 30 penalty minutes, and +9, a 6'2", 205-pound left shot defenseman, former 5th-round pick in the 2021 NHL draft. The Flyers are, this is what you like to see. I didn't think we were going to see Ty Murchison this year, 22 years old, and getting his first game. I liked what I saw. Jack, what about you?
I'm baffled, because I heard about this guy last year. It was the first year I really got into college hockey for obvious reasons, and I got the college hockey app on my phone, and I'm talking to people at work about it, and some other guy who no longer works in my post office he's a Penguins fan, so. But like we would talk about things. He told me, he's like, "Oh yeah, you're one of your draft picks, guy. He's looking good." And it was Ty Murchison. I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. 5th round pick." I'm like, just completely disregarded. I feel like I have not heard that name until he got called up. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? He's getting called up to the Flyers? Like, and I understand it's like they're rewarding him for what he's been doing down there, but goddamn, good for him. Holy crap. Like, it's wild to me. Like, Jim, has he really been that good with the Phantoms in his role?
Yeah, he's been extremely solid. Yeah. Earned his call up for sure.
And I'm not saying you, I'm saying just like in general, when you think of the Phantoms, it's Barkey, Bump, Kyrou, the goaltending, the veterans. Like, I really hadn't heard. If anything, I thought Hunter McDonald would have been the guy that they're calling up based on how we were sold on him. Charlie, it's funny. He just said this about McDonald. But then, Jennings gets sent down. Zamula's probably like a couple more good games, and he's probably gone. Like,
dude, I'm done with Zamula.
I think most people, we've been done with him last year. It's just wild. Yeah, I think they're both
slow as shit, man.
I think McDonald is a what do you call that? Like a gimmick. Like, I don't know why they pushed him so hard on us. And Jennings,
goal the other night with the Phantoms, but
he's a nice depth guy to bring up when you need him. But Zamula, I'm just like, I don't know why they hung on to him as long as they did. We all were out on him, and then we just get proven. He got bailed out too. It could have been a lot worse. But like,
they hung on to him because of Michkov, and Torts loved him for some reason. He kept giving him shot after shot. I'm like, dude, this guy's only has one speed. Like, his brain moves faster than his body. I like to think, at least. But he just processes, and like his body has to catch up. And by the time he moves, by the time he makes his decision, like we say it all the time, if you're thinking while you're out on the ice, you're behind. And dude, Zamula, I'm just so done with him, man. Maybe he needs another opportunity. Maybe he's just not an NHL player, but like,
how many players
watch him anymore? Like, keep doing this. Like, march out Murchison. And if Murchison, if he has a bad game or two, bring up the next guy. Let's see what we got from the next guy. We saw Jennings. Like, keep doing this. Give these guys shots.
I mean, it's weird. Like, he's got skill. He's clearly got skill. You've seen him make great passes in the offensive zone. But like, when it comes to actual defense, his defensive awareness is baffling. Like, it's like he doesn't know what to do. I don't know. You just can't do anything with a player like that. It's just too much of a net negative at the end of the day. And you can do better. You can do so much better.
He stinks, man. He's just not good.
It's what it is.
Yeah. It's just whatever. All right. So congrats to Ty Murchison. Let me just do a quick double check to make sure we didn't miss anything here. Talk about the Flyers. 4 points out. All right. So let's talk about the road ahead before we wrap up a little bit. Flyers are 4 points out of first place. I believe right now, Carolina's in first with 39. Washington's second with 38. I could bring this up real quick. I don't know why I'm guessing. So anyways, the Flyers have they have the Vegas Golden Knights tomorrow, which I don't know if Carter Hart would be playing that game. I think he's played like 3 in a row. If Vegas was smart, they wouldn't play him. So like, don't expect to see him. All right, let me share this screen real quick. All right, so Vegas tomorrow night, Thursday. Tough game. Vegas, tough team. However, the Flyers play them tough when they come out to Philly. So we'll see what happens. The next two, a weekend series, back-to-back games with the Carolina Hurricanes, Jack. 7 o'clock Saturday night, and then they travel down to Carolina for the 5 o'clock evening game on Sunday, and that kicks off a 4-game road trip. But I want to focus on Vegas and specifically Carolina here, and I'll show you why. In the standings, there you go. All right, so I had it flip-flop. Washington's number 1, 39 points. Carolina number 2, 38. Those two are the cream of the Metro. We expect to see them at the top. The New York Islanders, surprising team to see in third, 37 points. However, they have 3 games in hand on the Philadelphia Flyers, where the Flyers have 3 games in hand on the Islanders. So here's what the division looks like. Yeah. So you can see it's all jumbled up. between first and seventh place, 5 points. The Flyers have only played 28 games, which gives them the advantage in the scenario that we're talking about. If they beat Vegas, 37 points, and let's see what they do against Carolina. They have a chance to be top 3 in the division by next Monday, Jack. What do you think?
I mean, I certainly hope it happens. Vegas is a good team, so that is definitely going to be tough. But you know what? They tend to, as long as they're only down by a goal going into like the third or mid-second, I think they got a shot. So if they can weather the storm, they'll be home. Let's have a little R game for sure. It's possible. Carolina, the first time they played them, in my eyes, they beat them. So as good as Carolina is, I expect them to play them good. They're going to win one of those games. Calling it. I don't care which game it is. They will beat Carolina in regulation in one of those games. And hopefully they can at least make it to overtime in the next. I have confidence in them to do that. I like the way they're playing. They just get off the slow starts. If they can limit that or limit the damage at least and hang in games and do what they do later in games, they're going to be good. They're going to be looking strong. So Vegas will be tough. I don't know how far into next week you want to go. Montreal is an interesting game. They started off super hot, and I think they've definitely cooled off a lot. Where are they at? They have 33 points, so we have a couple more points than them. They have a game in hand, so
yeah, they can't keep the puck out of their net. They might.
Well, their goaltending is going to be an issue.
I think they're second worst goals against in the conference.
So I mean, it's in Montreal. Going into that game, I expect them to win. Maybe if it's in overtime, but I expect them to win. I definitely expect them to beat Buffalo, and Buffalo beating Buffalo is always good because when Quinn Hughes gets traded to New Jersey, we're going to look to Buffalo for Darlene and Thompson or Owen Power or whoever it's going to be. So we need Buffalo to continuously lose as Buffalo sits at the bottom of their division right now.
How confident are you? Are you putting a guarantee on that?
I just know that certain players expressed discontent with where the team and the franchise.
No, I mean Hughes to New Jersey.
I think it's like 80%.
You think it's done deal?
I almost said 90%. I don't see how it's not. Like they have the assets. He wants to go there. They could give Vancouver enough of what they would want in return. Like Nemec would help the fan. Nothing's going to help the fan base. They're going to be pissed off. They're already pissed off. But Nemec as a return with a first and maybe Dawson Mercer, that's a pretty good package, all things considered, I would say. And why New Jersey wouldn't offer that, I have no idea. So I don't know how you don't do that if you're New Jersey. Now they do have a money in, money out issue. They might have some financial issues, but I think they'll find a way. And so to me, it's tough. I don't know. We'll see. We don't know what's actually being said, but come on. The age we live in now, Cutter Gauthiers of the world, Quinn wants to play with his brothers, and he's going to find a way to make it happen.
All right, we'll see.
So we got to stick to the status quo. Beat Buffalo. That's a must-win in my eyes for that reason. And then Saturday is, I think it's our first matchup against the Rangers, who have been having an interesting year. They are second to last, only ahead of the Blue Jackets. And they have a game in hand, and they really struggle to score at home, and it will be in New York. So somebody said earlier in our chat that this road trip will be interesting, will be telling, and he's right. He's right. After we play these 2 games at home, we have 4 away, and all those games, except for maybe the Carolina game, are truly winnable. The Carolina game is winnable, but the other 3 are almost expected based on how the team has played. Or at least a winning record out of the 3 games. So before we next talk, we're going to see them play Vegas, Carolina twice on a home back-to-back, and then Montreal. I expect them to come out of that 2-1-1, and that's being safe. I hope for more, but 2-1-1.
All right. All right. So where am I going to go with this? The Flyers have been pretty tough to play against at home. So believe it or not, I'm going to give them 2 points over Vegas. Maybe it goes to overtime. Maybe it goes to shootout. Vegas has lost 9 games after regulation this year, which is kind of crazy because we're only a quarter of the way through the season. I'm going to give the Flyers 2 points tomorrow night at home against Vegas.
Let's go.
I'm going to give them 2 points against Carolina on
Yes.
Saturday night. I think they want a little bit of revenge. And then maybe they go down to Carolina and they lose,
Fair.
down south. The Montreal game's interesting. What did you say, 2-1-1, Jack?
So yeah, my one would probably be a one of the Carolina games. I'm sorry, no, the Vegas game. I want them to beat Carolina in regulation, go to overtime with Carolina, and I want so beat Montreal in regulation is what I would be going for.
Okay. Now, this is a tough one because Montreal not very good, but they for some reason get up to play the Flyers. The whole Montreal fan base gets up to play the Flyers. Like, I don't know why. Like, what's the saying everyone has when somebody's on somebody's mind? Jack, I'm just completely drawing a blank.
Rent free.
Yeah. For whatever reason, the Flyers live rent free in the entire city of Montreal's head. I don't know what it is.
Why?
Yeah, I have no clue. Like, we don't give a shit about Montreal. Like, do whatever. I actually root for them sometimes because I like the city.
I like their players. Yeah.
But like, it's a big game for them when the Flyers come up there, and so I only hope that the Flyers get up for that game. And I'm hoping it's not a letdown after 2 big division games against the Hurricanes. I'm gonna say. This is my long-winded answer to say they go 3-1 before we next talk. All right. Overtime win against Vegas. I don't know, maybe an overtime win too against Carolina.
Win's a win.
Then they lose down south, and then they go up to Montreal, and they take 2 points in Montreal. Send everybody home, packing, walking home in the snow, freezing their nuts off after watching their team lose once again to the Phildelphia Flyers.
I think the first one was in Montreal too. We won up 3-0 and they came back and we still won the game.
Yeah.
I think I was in Montreal as well. Let's do that again. Well, I don't really like to come back, but a win's a win. That's all that matters. A win's a win, baby.
Yes, sir. All right. We went a little overtime here, 1 hour and 22 minutes in. Wow. Okay. So what do you say we end the show? Anything you wanted to bring up before we wrap up, Jack? Oh, you know what we didn't do again? The read.
Oh, this time it got by me. All right, hold on. I had it ready.
Bring it up. I'm hoping that we see some of the Montreal guys that were in the chat.
Yeah, remember that? Where'd that guy go?
So yeah, next.
I think he started losing a little bit. And he got a little quiet. All right, I'm ready, Jimmy.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
All right, guys. Quick timeout because if you're a diehard Philly fan, you need to hear about this. Fans of Philly is the ultimate way to hit the road with the Birds, the Flyers, the Phils, or even the Sixers. We're talking full travel packages, your hotel, your transportation, and yes, the tailgates that are basically legendary at this point, all taken care of for you. No stress, no scrambling for tickets, no worrying about where you're staying. You just show up, throw on your jersey, and enjoy the ride with your fellow diehard Philly fans. So whether it's flying out to see the Eagles take over an opponent's arena, cheering on the Flyers in enemy territory, or making a full weekend getaway for your Phillies and Sixers games, Fans of Philly has you covered. Trust me, this is the closest you'll get to feeling one of the players when they roll into town because the takeover is real. So let's check them out. Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Start your planning your next Philly sports road trip today. That's Fans of Philly, phfansofphilly.com, where every away game feels like a home game.
Outstanding stuff, Jack. Thank you for that.
My pleasure.
They had a couple good trips. I think they went up to New Jersey a week or so back, and they traveled out to Los Angeles for the Eagles game. They do great stuff. So,
absolutely.
All right. Pretty long show tonight, almost a 90-minute show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you haven't yet, our like goal for the episode was 50 likes. So if you haven't liked the show yet, and you actually enjoyed it, please do us a favor. Go ahead and like. If you haven't subscribed, our subscribe goal for the year was 2,000 subscribers. Didn't look like we were going to hit it, but we had a pretty massive week last week, and we have an outside shot. I think before the episode, we were at 1898. So if we can do 100 subs in the next 3 weeks, we hit our goal, and we'll do something really fun. So if you haven't subscribed yet, do us a favor, give us a like and a subscribe, and leave a comment. We love hearing from you guys. If you enjoyed the conversation tonight, chime in, let us know you watched, say hello, and make sure you watch us on YouTube. If you're listening to us as a podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, really anywhere you get your podcasts. Those are the preferred outlets, and set alerts so you're first to know when we drop new shows. And for all of our latest episodes, you can find them right here on YouTube. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. We're everywhere. So we're going to wrap this episode up. For Jack, I'm Jim. Don't forget to keep it high, keep it wide. We'll see you next time on HW Hockey.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching HW Hockey. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.